Hi everyone, welcome to this week's Halton Hills housing update. So I would say this week's update is pretty good. It's not a doom and gloom update, so that's a positive. So looking at last week's numbers, in Georgetown, we had 12 sales. So again, a decent number, not super high, but not low. We did have 18 new properties, which is not great in terms of our gap between new listings and sales. But because of some terminations, which I'll talk about, our inventory stayed at bay this week in Georgetown, which is so great. Acton had 4 sales, which is a high week for Acton, and 6 new listings, so also a high week there. Glen Williams saw no sales, no new listings. The rural market had no sales, but it had 6 new listings, so not great news for the rural market. Another thing we're sort of watching is like where these price points are falling. So of the 16 properties that sold, 10 of them were under $1 million, so still that far majority of properties selling under that $1 million mark. Looking at the properties that terminated, relisted, we had 9 properties that adjusted their pricing downward. We had 3 properties that just refreshed, relisted at the same price. The notable thing is that we had 10 properties exit the market. That really helped to keep inventory down this week because we were able to not see a massive jump because there was quite a bit of new inventory versus sales. So yay to properties starting to come off the market if like the market is not doing what they want for them. So looking at active inventory, all of Halton Hills is up slightly from 219 to 225 active listings. So we did climb, but not skyrocket, so yay. So Georgetown stayed the same this week at 131 active listings, so that is awesome. We really are kind of not quite at the point where we're like so saturated, but 131, if we start to climb from there, our market's gonna start to feel very saturated. Looking at our price points, under 800,000 stayed the same at 22 active listings this week. 800 to $1 million is up slightly from 33 to 34. There's quite a lot of properties available between 8 and $1 million, and really nice properties, but quite a lot starting to be available in that pocket. 1 to 1.5 million is actually down slightly from 60 to 58 active listings. So yay that price point saw us soften, because that is our price point that we feel inventory really pile onto. So good news for the sellers that you're not piling on this week. And 1.5 million plus is up slightly from 16 to 17 active listings. Still a softer number in that pocket than we were seeing last year, but there is like virtually no movement. I think in the last 2 weeks we've seen 1 property over 1.5 sell, so there's not a lot of movement over 1.5 million right now. Looking at Acton, Acton is up now. They finally got into the 30s from 29 to 30 active listings. Not a great number for Acton. Anything in the 30s is quite saturated. So hopefully they can continue to see those high sales weeks. 4 sales in Acton is a good week, so hopefully we can keep that trend going for the sellers in Acton. Glen Williams remained the same at 9 active listings this week, and the rural market climbed from 50 to 55. So like I talked about last week, the rural market is very quiet right now. When Georgetown gets saturated, the rural market really slows down. And one of the other problems with the rural market is that the price points are a lot higher in the rural market, and those buyers just are not as out in the market. So I would say this week was a decent update. We had some sales, which was great, and our inventory levels did not skyrocket. It has been dicey the last few weeks. It feels like we are on the cusp of things skyrocketing. So if we can keep those sales up, as well as anyone who doesn't need to be on the market just like get off, that would be great for our inventory levels. I will be back next week with May's numbers to see how the month went. Have a great week, everyone.